I turned it on and it blew the speaker. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carl DeMaio, running for Congress, and we're going to start out this town hall with something that they typically don't allow us to do anymore in schools, and that is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could rise, please. Hand over heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Amen. Well, I've been doing town halls. I think we're up to number 50, 51, 52, since August 5th. And this is our second one today. We did one in Valley Center at a retirement community at noon. And what you're going to find with me is that I'm always going to be here and accessible in the community, because I want you to be able to come to me with a problem, with an issue, ask me a question, give me your thoughts on what's going on. That's my job, is to be giving you information as to what's going on in Washington, what we can do about it, and then, of course, getting your feedback. So at tonight's town hall, we do have a theme. It is on our challenge of securing the border. However, when we get to questions and answers, please feel free to share any thought or ask any question on any topic. It really is broader than just the border when we get to the Q&A. But I do want to start out by talking about the priority that I have of making sure that we secure our border. It's not just a national security issue, but it's also, frankly, an issue of fairness. We have to be a nation of laws. We have an immigration system, and we are incredibly generous in this country. We have to make sure that we vet people properly, and that people who come in here follow the rules, and it's based on merit. And I think that's a fair approach to take. And so I've laid out a 5-point plan called the Border Security Initiative. And this plan, has some of my input, but I really sat down with the professionals. Border Patrol agents, ICE agents, angel moms, angel dads. These are parents of people who have been killed by illegal immigrants who have committed crimes. They should not have been here in the first place. We've looked at legal challenges and also practical challenges. And so the 5 points of our Border Security Initiative are designed to address the issue in a comprehensive manner. You have to do all 5 of these things if you want to have a secure border. You absolutely cannot do just one. And all 5 of these are absolutely consistent with what President Trump has been trying to do. And that's really why I laid out this 5-point plan. The president ran on a platform in 2016 with clarity. And he said, we're going to have to build a wall. We have to crack down on illegal immigration. And, to his credit, he's actually trying to keep his word. And the swamp is not used to that. The swamp is used to politicians saying one thing and then getting to Washington and they acclimate like pot people. The body snatchers come down and, they don't keep their word. And a lot of it's Republicans not keeping their word. The party that said they were going to repeal and replace Obamacare didn't even have a replacement plan. And then when one was watered down and offered, they choked. They didn't actually follow through on their commitment. And so the president is trying to do that. And he has not only the Democrats undermining him at every step of the way, but he has some people in his own party that mostly are unwilling to fight along with him, and others are basically knifing him and undermining him. And the dirty secret about why we don't have a secure border is very simple. There's a motivation by both political parties to keep the border open and porous. Democrats want the votes and the issue, because it's a lot easier to, if that issue is of concern, it's easy to say, well, if you want a secure border, you're a racist. So for them, it's about politics and votes. But for Republicans, it's about green. It's about the money. Because the dirty secret for Republicans is that big business wants an open border for cheap labor. And so what you'll find are the Republicans that say one thing and do another thing, take a look at their campaign disclosures. And what you'll find is that they're getting big checks from PACs, from corporations. And so that's why my 5-point plan is not just the policy plan. It includes something called a super PAC. How many of you know what a super PAC is? Dark money in politics. You know, the problem with the super PACs is that all of them are basically fronted or funded by special interest groups, corporations, labor unions. The biggest source of dark money in politics are the government employee unions, okay? And so they're helping out the Democrats, and then corporations, they help whoever's in power. They just want to have control. But when was the last time that the people had a super PAC?
Never.
And that's what this Secure the Border Now super PAC is all about. And so I'm happy to support it, because the notion of the super PAC for Secure the Border Now is that we're not just going to say, here are 5 points to secure the border. We're going to put a hammer into the mix. We're going to basically say, if you are a Republican and you lied to your voters in the primary and then turned around and didn't follow through on securing the border, we're going to primary you and we're going to toss you out of office. And that's what AOC is doing on the left. She's saying, if you don't like socialism, if you don't back the Green New Deal, if you're not leftist enough, I might primary you. In other words, they're going to find a candidate who's even more cuckoo, and she'll back that candidate and take a Democrat out. So what's happening is she's driving the conversation on the left, because what she's saying is, I'm not just laying out, the crazy socialist platform. I'm actually willing to target some of my own colleagues. And so with this super PAC, I know I'm not going to be popular for this on the Republican side, but it needs to be done. And that is, Republicans who lie to voters to win primaries and then turn around and stab those voters in the back and don't follow through, they're going to have to recognize that we may target them and toss them out. And then, of course, I don't think I'll have to do it to any of them. Do you know why? All you need is the mechanism and the hammer. And they just say, oh, okay, sorry, big business, I actually have to follow through on the commitment I made to the voters. Then we get to use that super PAC to go defeat open border Democrats. So that's the strategy there. And I've seen this happen time and time again in politics, and I figure what we need is, if we're going to secure the border, if we're going to help support the president in getting his agenda done on the border, we've got to have the hammer of a super PAC focused on members of Congress who are not doing what they said they were going to do. And we can talk about one of my opponents tonight who fits that description. Okay?
Saw the ad.
Yeah. I look at this and I'm like, people aren't buying this crap. I hope not. And I put my faith and trust in the voters to see through the manure and find the diamonds in the rough. So let's talk about the 5 points. First, build the wall. And it's not just build the wall, it is get the technology, the tools, the infrastructure, and the staffing to secure the border. And that's what the president's talking about. When he talks about build the wall, he's talking about not only the importance of building the wall, the double-line fencing, all throughout the southern border, but he's talking about properly staffing Border Patrol. Right now we have thousands of Border Patrol positions in the federal budget, funded but vacant. And that's by design. They intentionally hold positions vacant, even though our tax dollars are there to fund it. It's in the budget. They don't lack the money. Have you ever seen a government agency with money not spend it? This is by design, my friends. And so it's got to be clear. Put the infrastructure in, and then staff the southern border so that we can actually secure the border. And there's a reason why the president has come up with this idea of the wall, is that he also listened to Border Patrol. The old fence down here in San Diego is a sheet metal, about 6, maybe 6.5 foot tall. Not very tall at all. And it's easy for folks to jump over and cut through. What Border Patrol came up with years ago was a double-lined fence and barrier. And that's where Trump talks about the wall. The reason why you need it to be twofold is that they may get over the first one, but then they try getting over the second one. By that point, what happens? The staffing is there. The agents are able to get there and detain them before they step foot on U.S. soil. That's why the two fences also have a road in between so that they can drive very quickly. They didn't used to have a road down there. It used to be very hard to get to the sheet metal fence in time to stop them. By that point, they're like, oh, in like Flint, I am on U.S. soil, you can't get me out. And then, of course, Barack Obama would say, no, 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 you can't turn them back. No, no, they're here. And very loosey-goosey in terms of the policy that the Obama administration had on what agents can and cannot do. They even said that they couldn't use vehicles for environmental purposes. Don't disturb the dirt. Oh yeah, there may be some fairy shrimp down there. So the first and foremost is give the Border Patrol the staffing, the infrastructure, the wall, the technology, the drones, the sensors, the cars, the roads. Give them the tools they need to do their job. They are eager to do it. And they know exactly what needs to be done. Trust their professional judgment. Second, you can build a wall, but you have to do more, and that involves closing the loopholes in our laws.
Right.
It's like a speakeasy. They come to the border and they say, yo soy refugee. Yo soy persecado. And that's code for I am using the asylum law of the United States, which we put in place after World War II, when we promised we would never allow this National Holocaust Remembrance Day. We would never allow that to happen again. We turned away Jews. It was a dark period of time for us. And what we said in the late 40s is we will create an asylum system that if you are being persecuted, that we will be one of the countries that will take you in. That generosity is being abused. It's being abused by people who say, oh, well, I'm just going to claim I'm persecuted. And the funniest one is, well, why are you persecuted? Well, there's MS-13 in Guatemala. Well, have you ever been to L.A.? Seriously?
Really?
That's why you're being persecuted? Now, the first thing we have to do on the asylum laws is require that they not come to our southern border, that they have to seek asylum in their home country or an adjoining country at either the embassy or the consulate. That's number one. Number two is that we need to empower our agents at the embassy and at the border to make a field determination on what we call proof of cause, where the agent can say, I don't believe that this person qualifies for asylum, and so I will make a judgment right here, right now, to deny the asylum claim. These agents know who is being persecuted and who's not. All right? They are not going to sit there and just say, we're just going to shut the door on everyone. They hear what's going on in the countries. They are well informed about what's going on. And they also know that most of these folks, 90% of them, are just simply seeking a job. If you want to seek a job, go through the legal process. We have a process for you. More on that in a minute. But the asylum law has to be amended, reformed, and changed, and tightened up all the loopholes. But we are a fair country. If you think that someone got it wrong, that you really are being persecuted, then we will allow an appeals process. But in order to appeal, you shall post a bond to pay for the cost of the court. Right now, we give them a free ride. They're not citizens. They get to come to our country and say, I want you to give me a judge. I want the government to assign a prosecutor. I want to have representation. And there are all sorts of nonprofit groups out there, well-funded, that are there to advise them on how to take advantage of the system. Well, fine. Then you can help post their bonds, and the bond will be returned to them. If they prove their case in court, if they are accepted as someone who's legitimately worthy of asylum, we will return their bond, no harm, no foul. But if they don't pursue their case, then a lot of them just don't even show up because they're already in the country. And after 90 days, they get a green card. Did you know that?
Yes.
Yes. Under asylum, if you haven't gotten a judgment in 90 days, and nobody gets a judgment in 90 days, all right? It takes 2 years to get your asylum case heard in federal court because we have so few judges and so many people asking, a backlog of folks asking for asylum, that in 90 days, they get a green card. And what happens within 2 years? They get married, they have a baby, or they just don't show up. That's just the system. That's how it's going. And so this is no way to do asylum, because people who have legitimate persecution that we should be helping out and taking care of and protecting, the whole system is clogged up, so those legitimate asylum seekers are not provided the remedy and the safe harbor that they deserve. So we have to change the laws, tighten the loopholes. Third, build the wall with the infrastructure and the staffing, close up the loopholes so that people can't take advantage of these laws this way. Third, stop the incentive for illegal immigration.
Thank you.
Cut off the welfare and repeal sanctuary state.
Yes.
Stop the incentive.
Thank you.
No public assistance. And guess what? Our president won today at the U.S. Supreme Court. The liberals can sit there and say, it's unfair. Oh, it's not legal. Guess what? The Supreme Court has ruled law of the land. The president has the ability to cut off the public welfare from illegal immigrants.
Yay.
You're not going to hear a whole lot about that on the evening news, but that is the law of the land. And they mocked the president. You know, by the way, his winning record on the immigration issues is quite stellar. He's got good lawyers. He's been winning and winning and winning and winning and winning on these issues. And so on the issue of illegal immigration and welfare, we used to have a rule that said, if you come here legally, you're not allowed to use welfare for at least 5 years. Obama waived it. In the state of California, Gavin Newsom imposed a healthcare tax on you and me. We are now taxed for our
Right.
healthcare if we don't buy the plan the government thinks we ought to have. That's like saying, you know what, you really need unlimited minutes. Oh, you didn't buy unlimited minutes? I'm going to fine you.
But
But I'm going to give a
migrants
free
don't have to
Obamacare
pay for
phone
it.
over here to this guy, and your tax will pay for his unlimited minutes. No. At the same time that they're taxing California citizens on health care, we're turning around and giving free health care for illegal immigrants.
Yes,
No more.
that was in Obama's
Cut them
healthcare
off.
plan.
Cut them off. Because if you can't come to this country and pay your own way, then we're not going to be the ones to say, oh, well, of course, we will just go ahead and take care of everything. Come right in. Here's the red carpet. No. We have had generation after generation of Americans come to this country, and our heritage proves this point, where when they come here, they didn't have welfare, and they did have families. Irish, Italian, German, and the families would say, yeah, you can stay. Come on in, you can stay. But tomorrow we start looking for a job for you. You're getting out there on the job. And what we ask of you is once you're established, then you will do for others as we have done for you. The communities took care of these individuals to make sure that they got a fair start, but there was no welfare. And all we are asking as Americans is if you come here, that you come here with a job, that you keep a job, that you do not take from the system until a reasonable period of time. And I think the American people are smart when they establish that requirement. It's been waived. We need to enforce it. So that's third. Stop these incentives. Fourth, the other incentive besides public assistance is an illegal job. And that's why we need to fully enforce and mandate E-Verify on every employer.
Yes.
And this is something Republicans are afraid to do because, oh, big business may get upset with us. Cheap labor is going to be drying up. No. Big business shouldn't be profiting off of illegal immigration.
Correct.
E-Verify, no tolerance, and a penalty if companies are habitually taking advantage of that system. Fifth, the first four elements are all about securing our border and curbing illegal immigration. Fifth, reflects the heritage of our country as a welcoming country of immigrants. And that's why what we need to do is adopt something called the RAISE Act, R-A-I-S-E. The president has endorsed this legislation. And what it says is we will continue to welcome immigrants from all over the planet. However, we will vet them, and they will no longer be let in based on the lottery or who they know. They will only be let in based on merit. It will be a standard, quantified scoring system on a number of factors. And you know what? I'm willing to debate the Democrats on the factors. I have a couple little wish list items. They need to know English. They need to know about our Constitution. They need to have a job. The job that they have must reflect a skill set that's necessary in the economy.
Yes.
They have to have a background check, no criminal record. I mean, there are some nice criteria that we can go through that's not based on religion, not based on gender, not based on skin color, not based on anything else, but objective criteria that you would review and vet someone on based on merit. Who can argue with that?
No one.
Apparently the other side. And here's the thing. I cannot wait to be on TV, and I know that it's going to happen, because most Republicans, some of them talk about building a wall, but then they don't say anything else about immigration. I want to lean in on this, because I think this is a big opportunity to flip the narrative around. I'll be on one of those crazy channels, well, in other words, anything but Fox News, and one of those crazy channels, and someone on the opposite side, pretending to be a journalist, will say, "But Carl, that sounds awfully racist to me." I'll say, well, hold on a second. Here we do realize, the American people, we are a nation of immigrants. We are stronger because of that. We are proud of the fact that we're from all over the place, but we all believe in the notion of freedom, and we're all part of building this great country of other countries. We take in 1 million legal immigrants every year, legally. Even though we have a porous border, 11 million illegal immigrants in this country, legally, we take in 1 million per year. If we're racist, we're really doing a bad job at it. Oh golly, we're really doing a bad job at it. Question for you, Rachel Madcow. How many more should we take in before you'll stop calling us a racist? Okay, that's my question for you. Because you know what? They can't answer that question. Because most Americans don't know how generous the American people are when it comes to immigration legally every single year. 1 million every single year, which is more than the entirety of immigration in the other countries.
Crazy.
And so you got to educate the American people that our country is being demeaned in a derogatory manner as a bunch of racists for wanting to secure our border, when in fact we are so generous year after year after year in welcoming people into this country, and that isn't going to change. What we are asking for only is that people follow the law and that we're able to secure the border. That's all we're asking for.
And they pay their way.
And so those are the elements of the 5-point plan. And it's supported by the Angel Moms, it's supported by the Border Patrol professionals, it's completely in alignment with what the president is trying to do. Now let me just really quickly address the fake news guy, Desperate Daryl. Although his real name is Amnesty Isa. So Isa's out there, and to my, I guess I can't say surprise, because this is the way of the swamp. They just got to make things up as they go along. Daryl Issa, 18 years in Congress, taking the money of the big corporations, and let's just look at his voting record. And all of this is online at ISAsupportsamnesty.com. First and foremost, he opposed Trump's border wall. He called it, quote, unnecessary. Second, he attacked President Trump on his deportation order at ICE, saying that we shouldn't be concerned with the undocumented immigrant. That's a quote. The undocumented worker, we don't have to worry about that. ICE is wrong with trying to do deportations. Third, instead of supporting the president, ISA voted not once, but twice for amnesty, June 22nd, 2018. HR 6136, amnesty. It was voted no by Duncan Hunter. Now, we have issues with Duncan Hunter. Okay? Duncan Hunter has his own issues. But I don't think that this district wants to replace Duncan Hunter and his philosophy on the border with a Daryl Issa who will vote for amnesty. Oh, not just that bill, 6136. He didn't just vote for it. Issa authored the amnesty law. He said, I'm a Republican, but I'm going to go and support amnesty. He authored a bill for 11 million illegal immigrants to get amnesty in this country. That's also online documented at ISAsupportsamnesty.com. And finally, in 2005, the Border Patrol and border activists picketed ICE's office because ISA came out and said we ought to close the border checkpoints. They're not working. Let's close them down. Let's save some money. They're inefficient. I was told by a Border Patrol agent the reason why he did that is he was stopped by one of those checkpoints. He got ticked off and said, I'm a congressman. Who do you think you are? Do you not know who I am?
He's an immigrant.
So here's the deal. My record is crystal clear. My positions have been crystal clear on this. I've never wavered in my positions. But I'll be damned if I allow someone with that sort of record to stand up and try to lie to voters. And so I will make sure that the information gets out. I think our president showed that when someone goes out there and says something that's not true, you don't sit there and cower, you don't stay polite, you go out there with facts, and that will probably scare the crap out of them more than anything else. That you're armed with the facts, the bill numbers, the actual citations, and the dates that the things happened. It's all on the website, isasupportsamnesty.com. Okay, so how do we get this implemented? First, I'd like to go to Congress with this plan and say, I ran on a 5-point plan on securing the border. I have the support of this super PAC. I'm committing to help them raise money, and we're going to have a list of members of Congress who are weak-kneed, that aren't following through on what they ran on. And what we want to do, we want to identify members of Congress who ran on the notion of securing the border and turn around and lie. If a community elected someone who said, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Washington and do the opposite, it bothers me. But I think what we could really do is go after the ones that bald-faced lied and are not following through on their commitments. So we would have a list, and we would publish the list. And we'd say, hey, you're on the watch list. Where did we get this strategy? It's not just from AOC. But when I went after the gas tax, we didn't just go after the gas tax. We went after the politicians. I knew I couldn't do all of them, but I said, let's take one of the politicians. And I even said on air, I don't care which. We're gonna use the gazelle strategy from the Animal Planet. We're gonna find the weakest one, and us lions are all gonna work together on one gazelle. Not each of us go after taking out our own state assembly member or state senator. That it would spread us too thin. But if we all work together, I think we can end the political career of one of them. And the politicians don't pay attention unless one of them loses a job. Okay, that's when you really get their attention. And so what I said is we're gonna do a recall against Josh Newman, because he voted not only for the gas tax, he voted for the sanctuary state law, SB 54. He was the deciding vote on both of those pieces of legislation. And we worked together, filed the papers, raised the money, collected the signatures, and booted him out of office 60% to 40%.
Yay.
And I tell you today, that is the gift that keeps on giving. It was only the fifth successful recall in 104 years.
So when's he leaving?
Oh, he's already gone.
He is?
Yeah, 2018. He's gone. Josh Newman, taken out of office.
Oh no, our governor.
Oh, not news, is it? We're going to get to him soon.
Okay, oh no.
Believe me, he's next.
Thank you.
No, you got Josh Newman out of office. So when they did remember the drinking water tax? Some of you were on my email list. They said, hey, they're doing a drinking water tax. They want to tax you for drinking water. Next it's going to be taxing you for air. Next they're going to ban straws. Oh, they did that too. But they said they were going to tax our drinking water. Now, mind you, all of our drinking water comes from government agencies anyway, so we pay the highest water rates in the country. We already are taxed enough. But they wanted to add a separate tax on top of it for the privilege of having water come out of your faucet. So I knew how many votes the governor had, and I knew he was short. So I came up with 12 water tax weaklings. And we started bombarding them with phone calls and emails and nasty letters and ads, etc. Well, they were still they were still wobbling. So the week that the vote came up, we filed 12 recall committees with the Secretary of State with their name on it. Recall Sharon Quilk Silva, assembly member up in Orange County. We did each of their names. Would you imagine that? All 12 of them flipped that week. They folded like a wet noodle, okay? They were just, boom, they were done. And we defeated the water tax. The ghost of Josh Newman. Josh Newman. It still scares the crap out of these people that if they vote for a tax increase, that they could face a recall. And unlike the gas tax, you can't change the title on a recall. It's just yes or no. Recall the politician from office. And so I believe that this super PAC approach is desperately needed because the only language politicians speak is when one of them loses their job and then you get their attention. And they say, oh, I could be next. Yes, you could. So follow through on your commitment. So let me open it up to questions, comments, and suggestions. I knew I went through the 5 points. I hope I covered each of the details, but don't be shy. I want to make sure everyone gets their questions answered. Yes?
ISA left the Congress.
Yes. Well,
ISA wants to come back to Congress.
Correct.
Why is
ISA left his
Why
seat.
did
ISA left his seat in 2018 because he was looking at the polls and he realized that he was losing. Well, when you don't hold a town hall in 18 years but once, and everyone starts screaming at you, chances are you probably like, oh, I'm going to lose my seat. So he gave up his seat rather than put up a fight. Now, he was one of 39 Republicans that gave up rather than put up a fight, making it easier for the Democrats to flip the House. The president was not happy with what happened, because in addition to ISA going against the president on the immigration issues, time and time again, ISA didn't support the president on his tax cuts, ISA voted against the president on defense policies, and then ISA was the only Republican, and think about this, you got Mitt Romney, and you got John McCain. ISA was the only Republican out of all of those mixes, only Republican to call for a special prosecutor to investigate President Trump over the Russia collusion scam. So Trump was not happy, and then ISA at the very last minute decided not to run for re-election. So I don't know why he wants to come back. I think he misses the ego stroke that he gets with being called a member of Congress.
So he said Trump called him to be one of his special staff, and they couldn't get approved.
No.
That's what he's telling
I know.
everybody in public.
I know, in public, but it's easy to go back and look at the facts. So ISA decided January of 2018 not to run for re-election. Trump did not nominate him until September of 2018,
That's a flyer right there.
9 months later. He thinks, this is also a guy who calls Planned Parenthood a health organization, and that's why he's going to fund it. He's on tape. Go to whoisisa.com, click under the abortion side, who said on stage, I will fight to make sure Planned Parenthood gets funded. I guarantee it. Now he says, oh, I never said that. Oh, it's on tape, dude. It's on tape. It's on video. We have actually his words coming out of his mouth. He likes to splice mine, but we actually have videos up there of what he said. But worse than that, at the Republican Party meeting, he tried to explain it away. Now he denies it. Because he knew that the Republican Party meeting, his explanation didn't go over well. He said, oh, I didn't mean I was funding that part of Planned Parenthood. I'm funding the women's health portion of Planned Parenthood. If you buy that, really? So this is a guy who desperately wants to go back to Congress, and he cannot be honest about his own positions and record. I wouldn't have a problem if he ran on his own positions and record and let me run on my positions and record, and there you go. But anyone who lies, just like I did on my radio show for 5 years, I'm going to give you the story behind the story. I'm going to say, this is what he says, this is what actually is happening, and here are the documents and the citations. And so he was nominated for a post 9 months later. Now let me tell you the story behind the story on that one. ISA steps down. He then starts trying to get the president to nominate him. The first position he asked the president for was Commerce Secretary. And Trump was like, no, I'm not giving you anything. He said, I'm not giving you anything. Because remember, Trump remembers everything. He remembers that ISA was the only Republican to call for a special prosecutor against him and his family over the Russia collusion scam. He was furious about that. You don't give me a cabinet post, how about patent and trademark office? And the president's team was, nope. So finally, you know how Trump has a sense of humor, right? He's very funny. You know what he did? He nominated ISA for a small little post. 25 staff members are in this agency. Now, you show me a government agency with 25 staff members. We're talking, oh, it gets better. ISA called for the elimination of the agency, saying that it was irrelevant, redundant, unnecessary. And so Trump says, how about you be the leader of this organization? You seem to fit it just fine. So here's the thing. You can't make this crap up. And I thought when he got that post that ISA would not announce that, oh, look, I'm going to take this position, but he did. And then he still didn't push the nomination. That's the other thing about it is there's a protocol in Washington. When you're nominated for a post, the White House gets to decide when you withdraw. You don't get to decide. If you withdraw, it's because you called the White House and said, hey, here's what's going on. May I have permission to withdraw? And they let you know when you are to withdraw. And sometimes the White House doesn't even let you know. Sometimes they just withdraw. But you never initiate the withdrawal. In late July of this year, ISA gave an interview where he said, the White House better push me through or I'm going to withdraw. That didn't go over well. And then Issa decided just to withdraw his nomination. Interesting thing, the White House never did withdraw his nomination. That is, again, an example of bad protocol. You don't withdraw, you wait till the president or his team says it's time to withdraw, we're withdrawing your nomination. So guess what happened on January 3rd? And you can look this up on the Senate docket. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell returned Issa's nomination to the White House, which is the protocol. If the Senate does not act on nominations, it returns anything that the White House still has pending to the White House saying, we're returning it to you, we didn't act on it, it's a new session of Congress, so now you have to renominate. Again, many people don't know those facts, but there is precedent here. There is significance in how this all went down. And what he's saying in his flyers and at community forums is simply just not true. When you look at a flyer and someone has to say, I had a Diet Coke with the president on Air Force One, you're really stretching to say, he likes me. Well, if he liked you, I think it would be more clear. Yes, go ahead.
Bringing up Planned Parenthood, can you clarify your position on a woman's constitutional right for an abortion?
Well, you got me and Brett Kavanaugh in the same boat, which is Roe v. Wade is precedent. And so my focus is on making sure that we don't have funds going, taxpayer funds, for that procedure. My focus is also on defending the rights of religious, faith-based crisis pregnancy centers to offer their services without government interference. Here in California, they passed a law that said that crisis pregnancy centers, which, remember, they don't take a dime of government money. They are privately funded. They raise money through charitable contributions. That these crisis pregnancy centers that are faith-based would have to counsel people in favor of abortion. And so when that happened, I said, we've got to stop this law. And on my radio show, I brought the attorney on, and we started raising money for his case. We took it to the Supreme Court, and it only took a matter of months. The Supreme Court usually doesn't move this quick. On this case, it went quick. The Supreme Court struck it down on the basis of religious freedom and First Amendment free speech rights. That you cannot compel someone to say something that's not something they believe or something that they support. They're not getting any government money. So you can't say, well, the reason why we're saying is that if you take our money, it's a voluntary decision. No, these organizations were minding their own business, they were doing their work, and government in California tried to interfere. The funny thing about the left is they're all for personal freedom until you disagree with them. And then they're all good with government interference. So I'm in favor of defending the crisis pregnancy centers. I think what we need to do is make sure that women know that there are so many other options out there. They don't need to do this.
The Fallbrook Pregnancy Resource Center was a part of that.
And exactly, the one out in El Cajon was one of the plaintiffs in the case. And I'm also in favor of the Hyde Amendment, which would cut off federal funds from abortion, federal, state, and local funds from abortion. Again, Darrell Issa is against the Hyde Amendment. He's for the federal funding and the government funding continuing to go for Planned Parenthood. Yes, ma'am, in the back in purple.
I'm totally a supporter of yours, but of course, as many people in the audience, are getting stuff from ISA.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask you for the best way to combat. For instance, he's got a quote saying, you said Trump was a disgusting pig. How do we confront that?
Well, ISA likes to take everything out of context. I supported President Trump in 2016, and anyone who's listened to my radio show knows I've been supporting him and pushing back against his attackers time and time again. He goes after me for two things. The disgusting pig tweet, which was in reference to his comments about Megyn Kelly. I said, you don't need to go there and make us all feel icky in order to make your point. My job on radio is to report the news and comment on it. And so, yes, every once in a while I'll find something that, hey, you could do that better, you can do that differently. But that doesn't mean I don't support the president and his agenda. I've been fierce as a defender of his agenda and the president from his attackers. What is the other one? Oh, I had a candidate on my radio show in May of 2016 who was running for president. Yeah, that's how, I guess that's his explanation for how I'm a never Trumper, is that I had candidates on my radio show being interviewed about their platform. I've had Democrats on my show. It's real fun, by the way. I'm like a cat with a mouse at that point. And if they, no, I'm respectful. I will ask tough questions, but I will withhold my commentary until after they're off the air. But no, if they want to come on, I will give them the time. And I've had people who vehemently disagree with me on air. That's my job. But it doesn't mean that I withhold my opinion on issues. So I think if you want to compare our records, I'd love that. People looking at his betrayal, time and time again, of President Trump. The special prosecutor, that's a biggie. The fact that he voted against the president agenda time and time again, the most important agenda that the president, I think, has is on the border. And that's where ISA has been consistently against the border security agenda that the president has rolled out. So I'm eager to have people look at the facts and compare the two of us, because people will find that I'm a fierce fighter in support of the president's agenda, and I will do that in Congress, because I think he's right on all the issues. Yes, sir.
You're aware that ISA is probably one of the wealthiest guys in Congress.
I know, he's got $400 million, and then he's got all that special interest PAC money
He
behind
does,
him,
and
too.
I know you know that.
Yep.
But he had a guy coming around our neighborhood, just putting ISA signs in front of someone. I mean, he's asking them, but I'm saying he's really hustling them.
Well, he's got people
Yeah,
that,
just fine.
yeah, he's got people going door to door. We've got people going door to door, but there's a difference. I don't believe that you can buy a congressional seat. I think you earn it. And here are the two ways you earn it. You ask for contributions from real people. And I've broken fundraising records for Republicans, not from big donors, from grassroots donors. Over 35,000 contributors. And they're giving $5 at a time, $10 at a time. I raised more money the last quarter from grassroots contributors than Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's the shiny little object on the left. Oh yeah, they can't wait to do stories about her, but we kicked her rear end when it came to grassroots support. So look, you earn it $1 at a time, and then that translates hopefully into one vote at a time. I've also held 52 town halls. Darrell Issa has yet to hold one single event in the 50th district. You can fact check me on that. Not one single event has been held by Darrell Issa in the 50th district. He did have a fundraiser at the Inn at Rancho Santa Fe. And he did have his, quote, campaign kickoff. You know where he had his campaign kickoff? Washington, D.C. I mean, again, it shows you the mentality of the swamp is more. You know where he is today? He's in Washington, D.C. You know what he's doing tomorrow? He's in Washington, D.C. with a bunch of PACs raising money. And so you're not going to see PAC money on my disclosures. Yes?
Do we know exactly what the illegal immigrants has cost this country?
The question is, how much does illegal immigration cost this country? It is a number that the two political parties and the business community do not want you to know about, but it's a number that you can look at in terms of the following types of expenditures. Number one, public welfare. Any sort of food stamps, any sort of welfare that they are receiving, the free health care that California is providing. $100 million was the low ball estimate per year for free health care for illegal immigrants in the state of California. $100 million. Number two, the ones that just show up to the emergency room, you and I are paying for that too, okay? Because they don't pay. So what happens? The hospital has to provide services, so they will raise the rates on you. Or they close the hospital down if they can't make the money. Schools. Illegal immigrants that we are educating in our schools. And so when you hear the teachers union say, oh, but the children, it's overcrowded in the classroom. Hello. You want to talk about a secure border? We can deal with the overcrowding. Secure the border. But they always say, well, we can't give equality of instruction because bilingual, because, and again, I have no problem providing services to legal immigrants who follow the rules, came through, went through the process. We've invited them here. We're a nation of immigrants. That's what the deal is. However, to sit there and say, okay, on top of all of that, we're now also going to have to bear the burden of the cost of illegal immigration. No. The drug cartels. The human trafficking,
NAFTA.
the sex trafficking. Again, that's a public safety cost and a human cost
That
that's
was
happening in our
NAFTA.
communities. So the total
the-
cost, there are estimates out there that range from many, many billions of dollars to hundreds of millions of
And
dollars.
Carl, One American News had it last couple weeks ago at 382 billion.
Right.
With a B.
Per year.
dollars.
Yep.
They throw that up every day.
Right. Yes, sir, in the back of the cabin.
A little more personal for me, in the nineties, I had my middle brother murdered by illegal aliens. He was, shot in the head in a street robbery. And, I don't know, it kinda pisses you off if you start thinking about it too much, but the interesting thing is, the reason I bring it up in this setting is, he avoided prosecution by going back the other side of the border. So he wasn't able to be prosecuted then, but, you know, smart guy that he was, 10 years later, he got arrested on a minor drug charge and they were able to incarcerate him.
Right.
You know, it happens in real life, you know?
Yeah. By the way, on sanctuary state policy, we have to repeal it so that we deport people, but only after they fill out their full sentence. What I saw happened up there with jury nullification for Kate Steinley's killer is a disgrace, an utter disgrace. It's like the family has to experience the pain over and over and over again. Where's the national outrage on that? You know, the people who know about it are outraged, but the media doesn't want to talk about it. The media doesn't want to dwell on it. And so, you know, what we see are these manufactured, hysterical lies about, oh, you're keeping kids in cages, and no, we are providing as good a care as possible for a huge influx of people who should not be coming here in the first place. What was it? The study out of the United Nations: 1 out of 4 girls are sexually assaulted in these caravans. Who's standing up for these girls?
No one.
Anybody who doesn't secure our border and shut down that entire scam of the asylum process in the caravans is putting those girls at risk by saying, yeah, let's continue having this thing happening. If you actually secured the border, the caravans wouldn't happen. And if those caravans didn't happen, those girls would not be in that situation exposed to those forces. Again, nobody in the media wants to cover it. And so when they say, oh, well, but the compassion, oh, please, the facts are not on your side. Don't give me your compassion, because there's no compassion in what is going on right now. This is a human tragedy. It's like the whole issue of the homeless epidemic that we can talk about. Yes, sir, right back there.
I've been a pastor here in the Fallbrook area for over 26 years, and I was on the board of directors for a number of years at the Fallbrook Pregnancy Resource Center. Daryl Ice is saying that you're not pro-life. I have your website here, and it says Carl DeMaio personally opposes abortion, supports the Hyde Amendment. You've talked about that. But unequivocally, are you pro-life? And how do you define pro-life?
I'm against abortion personally, but it is a constitutional precedent, and this is the same answer that Justice Brett Kavanaugh gave at his constitutional hearing. It's not going to be a matter I'm going to be voting on. I would rather lead an effort to reduce the number of unplanned, unwanted pregnancies in this country. And so, if it makes it feel better to say, oh, we're gonna have someone in the House of Representatives who's going to sit there and say, well, I'm the more pro-life person, what I want to do is tell you I'm committed to trying to eliminate the number of unplanned, unwanted pregnancies in this country. And I think my plan is the better plan than what Daryl Issa is offering you, which is funding Planned Parenthood and telling you to your face that he's pro-life, when in fact, he's not going to actually be pursuing the sort of change in this country that I think we can actually accomplish.
And who are you men to talk to me, a woman, about my choice? You have no idea what women go through during pregnancy. So who are you men
He has a
to
mother, and he has a
decide?
sister, and I have a mom, and I have people I can ask the
Okay.
question to, man.
All right. So let's cool it down.
Have a good day.
Let's cool it down. What we need to do.
That's why I was part of the Fallbrook Pregnancy Resource
Yeah.
Center and still support them, because we do adoptions, we help women who've had abortions that have.
And I think that programs like yours are where we're actually going to be able to make progress. That's where we're going to be able to win over the hearts and minds, and making sure that every woman, every girl has been given the facts before they make that decision.
But I don't want my
They
tax
have to
money
be-
going to fund abortion.
And so that's why you probably shouldn't be considering Darrell Issa.
Yes.
Take a look at the record. Go ahead.
I did work for Planned Parenthood, and they do give choices. They go through every single step choice, and then they refer them out. I worked for them in the early 80s, or late 80s.
Have you ever seen the movie Unplanned?
No.
I would suggest you go see it. It's powerful. Abby Johnson, who used to work at Planned Parenthood, helped create that movie. It's documented. It's footnoted. Planned Parenthood has not been able to refute a single thing that is contained in that movie.
Planned Parenthood's the largest abortion provider in the United States.
Yes, sir. Let's keep on topic. See, here's the thing. At the end of the day, I believe that I'm more of a pragmatic leader. And that's why I come up with the Gazelle strategy on gas tax, which is, look, I want to get all these people out of here. I want to get them all out of office. But I know what we can and cannot do right now, and that is I can't do all of them, but I can sure as hell do one. And that's the sort of leadership you're going to get from me, which is I will come up with a battle plan for you. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your rear end. And the shiny object bauble, that's what the politicians give you, and I don't want us to fall victim to it, because if you like the way the state of California is run, you can blame the Democrats and the Republicans of the state. Because the Republicans will sit here and give you nice words, but they won't give you a battle plan, they won't give you focus, and they won't give you the action to execute it. Yes, sir.
A little different subject, but the Republican National Committee, the monies that are collected there, does any of that flow down to your level at all?
No.
Where, just give me a quickie of where.
You want to do a quickie? $30 million raised last cycle in California by the Republican National Committee. Only $3 million came back. Here's why. They've written us off. They've left us on the side of the road in the ditch for dead. And the argument I'm making to them is a couple things. Number one, you cannot write California off because you will never regain the House majority unless you pick up 7 or 8 seats in California. Mathematically, you cannot do it. We have 53 House seats in California. We used to have 14 Republicans out of 53, and people thought that was pretty darn pathetic. Now we're down to 7. I'm sorry, comma. Now we're down to 6 with 1 vacancy. That's how bad it's become. So if you're going to get the House majority back, Republicans, you got to bring some help to California. Second, here's another reason why they need to fight out here. California supplies the money to flip seats in other parts of the country. Because we don't fight in California, the Democrats say, oh, I don't need to give money to my member of Congress. They're not going to be challenged by Republicans. Let me write a check to someone in Georgia or in Texas or in Oklahoma. And I tell these Republicans, go look at your financial disclosures of your Democrat opponents. Look where all the money's coming from. La Jolla, Hollywood, LA, Silicon Valley, San Francisco. So if you want to keep your seat, kindly share a little bit of the resources. Help us light a fire on these folks' home turf. Third, you should support the freedom fighters in California, because the more of a mess that we make and the more of a fight that we put up, the more noise we make out here, the more people are going to learn what socialism really is like. I can't wait to go on TV and say, oh, I'm here to oppose Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal socialism nonsense. But I'm not telling you it's going to be bad. Oh, no. Come here. Let me show you how bad it is. Smell. Breathe it in, yes. The homelessness. Look at the $5 a gallon gas. Look at the schools that 51% of California schools are not meeting reading, writing, and arithmetic proficiency standards. We are funding failure. You've got plastic straws banned because that's bad, but we'll give plastic needles out to drug addicts on the sidewalk, and they'll leave them on the playground. This is socialism. You want to see socialism? Here it is. We don't have to imagine. This is the warning. We are the dying, living and dying warning. And so for those 3 reasons, the RNC needs to put money back here. So my encouragement to you is, don't give money to the National Party. Give money to the president, because he knows how to spend the money. And give money to good candidates here in California that are fighting principled, have a plan, and are actually showing momentum.
It looks to me like,
Real quick, go
This
ahead.
goes back a way.
Yeah.
Who decides what a sanctuary city is? One person? 10 persons?
Who decides what a sanctuary city is? The state of California has imposed sanctuary cities throughout the entire state. It's a state law that says that law enforcement may not cooperate with federal law enforcement, or it's a crime. These police officers have been told they will lose their job and may be subject to prosecution if they violate the sanctuary state law SB 54.
But who voted? Who said that?
The state legislature. Our politicians voted that into law 2 years ago. And one of them, who was the deciding vote, Josh Newman, I led the recall and we booted him out of office. Now we got to do more. We got to put that on the ballot. Repeal it. Right now we are challenging it in court, and I was able to get the San Diego County Board to vote to join President Trump's lawsuit against sanctuary state. And I just sat there with the radio and I said, we're going to keep pounding these offices with emails and letters until they actually docket it and actually vote on it. Originally, I was told, no, we're not going to do it. Don't put this controversy into our lap. I'm like, oh, it's coming. It's coming. You either deal with it or you're going to face the music with the voters. Yes, sir.
Yeah, quick question. What kind of awareness can you give us in understanding on the California legislature trying to mess around with Proposition 13? What are we supposed to be aware of?
Prop 13. Okay. A couple things there. You know how they defeated the gas tax repeal, right? So we got it organized. We got it on the ballot. They never thought we were going to get it on the ballot. We were winning all the way up to the end of August, and they had the polling, and they're like, "Oh God, 67%. We're done. We're toast. We've spent all this money on ads, and they're still not moving the numbers." So what did they do? They changed the title. They eliminated the words "gas tax repeal," and my initiative was 3 sentences long. You know, the summary was longer than my actual initiative. Okay, and the initiative summary that they wrote made it look like, even if you knew that this was a gas tax repeal, that, oh, maybe I vote no for yes and yes for no.
Yes.
So that was the other issue that they were doing the Jedi mind tricks on. So let's talk Prop 13. They have an initiative on the ballot that the politicians put on, and it's a repeal of massive portions of Prop 13. They're taking away all Prop 13 from every property except for single-family home. Now, before you say, oh, at least I'm okay. No, you're not. I'll explain in a minute. First and foremost, residential, multifamily, industrial, commercial, retail, office, all of those properties are going to have massive increases in property tax. And you could get a cup of coffee from Starbucks, it's going to be more expensive. You go to a CPA and get your taxes done, oh yeah, you're going to pay more taxes, and you're also going to pay for the higher cost of services. You're going to buy a shirt at a store. It's going to be higher cost of living for everybody because property taxes will increase the rent of all of those facilities. Rent, they talk about rent control. You increase the property tax on multifamily, you're going to kill that. But here's the thing. There's a reason why you've been left off to the side. It's called divide and conquer. Because the only people with the money to fight a repeal of Prop 13 are industrial, commercial, retail, multifamily housing developers. They go after them first and kill Prop 13, nobody will be left to defend you. Nobody. And they know that. This is their political strategy. It is predatory. But they all talk about it like, if we get this one through and we gouge the businesses, then they're not going to help out the homeowners when we go after the homeowners. They're just people. That's their attitude. They view us with contempt, and this is their strategy. That's why they split off. And they will tell you, oh, no, you're okay. It's going to be okay. It's not single-family homes. No, you're on the menu next. After they have this dinner, then they're going to have another round with you. So how do we fight it? They changed the title on it. It doesn't say property tax repeal. It doesn't say Prop 13 repeal. It doesn't even mention the word property. It says the School Improvement and Child Welfare Initiative. Oh, why don't you just call it Help Out Kittens and Puppies? You know, that's what they're calling this thing. It's a repeal of Prop 13. Now, here's the other Prop 13.
Is it on the ballot yet?
Yes, for November. But there is a Prop 13. Now, here's another thing you need to know about Prop 13. Prop 13, the number, we randomly give out numbers. It goes in sequential order. It goes all the way up to 78, and then they reset it. Okay, so about every 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, we reset the numbers. Except in 1979, the year after Prop 13 passed, they said Prop 13 is such a popular issue that we're going to permanently retire the number. No initiative shall ever have Prop 13 for the number. Oh, except for this election. They gave Prop 13, they brought it out of retirement, and they put Prop 13 on the ballot for a massive bond. They want you to think that you're voting yes for Prop 13, when in fact, you're voting for a massive bond, increased debt for the state of California. We don't need any more debt. No, they need to stop spending the money. So these people are liars, cheats, and thieves. There's no other better way to describe this law. And that's why we've got to work together and band together on this. And sir, it gets back to your question right there. I'm going to fight in California in a way that people haven't fought before, and I'm going to need your help to do it. So if you're looking for a traditional establishment Republican, I'm not your candidate. But if you're looking for a fighter who has an action plan, who's going to say, look, let's be smart bombs. There's more of them, they've got more power than we are. But if we work together, we can actually beat them. That's what I'm offering you. You don't like it after 2 years? Then you can kindly throw me out of office and I'll accept that judgment. But give me a chance. That's all I ask. One last question. Yes?
Carl, you have such a positive, powerful message that I hope that message gets out instead of negative messages.
If I had the money, I'd be running a positive and a contrast ad right now. Now, how many of you have seen my snake oil cartoon?
Love it.
Here's why. When I sat there, I sat down with the ad teams. I said, we have to make sure that the voters know that Darrell Issa is lying to them about his record. But I don't want to do it in a gratuitously negative way. I want something kind of funny. I want people to say, ooh, that's clever. I want someone to smile when they see the ad, not. So I actually will say, I'll let you go. You see his ad, okay? His ad starts out, you know, it's nasty, okay? And I'm not just saying that because it's me, okay? I looked at the ad, I said, I think this is going to backfire on him. I think this is gratuitously nasty. I think this is really going to a level you don't need to go to.
It's dark.
It's dark and nasty, yeah. Whereas I said I want to have an ad that educates people on the true facts of here's the facts, here's what he says, and here are the facts. And I don't like running contrast ads, but if someone lies about their record, I want to make sure you have the truth. You deserve to have the truth. And if I have the resources to give you the truth, I'm going to give you the truth, but I can at least try to do it in somewhat of a clever or funny way. Now, would I love to get another ad out there at the same time? Yes, but right now when you do a campaign, it's hard to pay for 2 ads at the same time. These ads are expensive. Oh, very expensive. Very expensive. And so like for one of the ads, you know, it could cost you $300. Another ad could cost you $5,000 just for one ad on the TV. So it ranges for one showing. Yeah. And so what you're going to find is that we do have a lot of positive stuff out there. I think a lot of people know my record. And I think that record's going to carry the day. But I want to make sure that you are not going to be lied to in this election. You need to know the facts and the truth. And I think the way we did our ad was kind of funny, kind of, you know, cute. But I don't want to do the, you know, breathing dragon, smoking dragon. And I rarely agree with the Union Tribune. Okay, the idea that the Union Tribune stepped forward and defended me, I was like, lions and lambs are lying together on this one. I was surprised. So one last comment or question. We got time for one more. Yes, sir, please.
What's your thoughts on anchor babies and the Visa lottery system?
Well, the second part first. Under the RAISE Act, the Visa lottery system is not going to be permitted. It's based on merit. Not who you know, not, the luck of the draw. It's based on vetting and merit. You earn your way through. It's a meritocracy. The RAISE Act that the president has proposed would accomplish those changes. And as it relates to anchor babies, I think we need to look at the case law. That issue has not been really litigated since 1898. On a gentleman who was here for 30 years, from China. actually, in 1898. The Supreme Court weighed in on the notion of natural-born citizen, etc. So I think what we can do is secure the border and hopefully adjudicate that in the courts and get clarity on it, because nobody has been raising that question with the courts, and I think that they should take another look at it. But in the meantime, I'm not going to wait for that. Secure the border, enforce E-Verify, close the loopholes in the immigration laws, make sure that we cut off the welfare of the sanctuary state, and pass the RAISE Act so that we have a merit-based system that people can look forward to. I think that if we do those 5 things, who can argue with it? We can have a generous, inviting country, as we always have been, and we also can protect ourselves by having that legal process that we are in fully enforcement of. Let me do this. I'm going to end on 3 notes. My request to you. First and foremost, if you want someone who's going to be blunt, maybe rough around the edges, but is going to have a plan and is going to say, look, I can't be all things to all people, but this is what we're going to do, and I think we can win this one. I would like to have your vote. I'd like to have your support. If you don't like it after 2 years, you can always get rid of me, and maybe I can go back to radio. But I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to see the little green sprouts in California of, wow, the resistance, the rebellion is actually taking form. Second, tell a friend. Word of mouth marketing is everything. Think about a movie that you might have been to or a book you bought. You probably heard it from a friend. Hey, well, you got to go see this movie. It's great. Oh, this TV show is marvelous. You got to go and think about telling friends, because your word is powerful. You don't have to tell them to vote for me. Just say, check him out. Check out his website. Don't believe him. And if you agree with him, then maybe he's your candidate. Third, bring people back. We have a series of events coming up called BBB, Barbecue, Beer, and Ballots. It's my version of ballot harvesting. And obviously it's the fun part, barbecue and beer. We can turn that down. But the ballots part is, I want you to bring the ballot, and we're going to give you a voter guide. We're going to answer your questions. How many of us spend like an hour trying to figure out what the hell does this thing mean? And my voter guide used to be the #1 thing downloaded on Kogo's website. So we're going to do the voter guide, and I'll be there, election expert, to answer people's questions as they come in so that they can easily get a cheat sheet for how to vote. I'm not saying you have to vote for me to have barbecue and beer. You can come on in and learn. I definitely want you to vote for the other good candidates and against some of the bad candidates or bad measures. But bring friends. Grab them and bring them in. We can give you invites that you can either walk door to door. We'll give you a list of 30 voters in your neighborhood who are what we call lazy voters. These are voters who probably won't show up unless you actually knock on the door and say, hey, come on in. You know, barbecue beer. It's next week. It's here in Fallbrook. Yep. And we've got, I think, one other that we're working on in Bonsall. We got about 12 or 13 of these that are happening all during 1 week. So if it doesn't work for a schedule or a time for someone, they can always go to one of the others that we're doing. But we want to energize and activate people in this election. We need to get them off the sidelines into the election. So the barbecue beer and ballots program, we could use your help in getting those invites out to people on email, through cell, or just quietly walk your neighborhood if it's walkable. Take an invite to your coffee shop, take an invite to your church, whatever organization you're part of. But if we can get people to turn out for those events, we can really rock the vote when it comes time for March 3rd. So I'll stay and answer any questions. You can donate in the back. You can buy T-shirts, Freedom Straws, Make California Great Again hats. We've got socialism doesn't mean free blank. We have a clean version and a dirty version. So, but they're fun things that you can buy rather than just donate. But I would appreciate your help in this campaign in the last 35 days. Thanks so much, and I'll stay one-on-one questions.